Greetings builders, Daniel here and welcome back to another best build selection. This is the video where I bring 3 selected builds for a specific topic, and today's theme is for those who don't want to meet their fate. I'm talking about the tank builds. Let's start with the tankiest build of all, the Bonshera Juggernaut with the Marauder class. This build is perfect for the melee enthusiasts out there. Bonshera hits enemies so hard that it hurts your own character, accumulating trauma stacks. For each trauma you're going to deal and take more damage. That's why it's important to gather both attack speed and armor to stack many traumas and sustain their damage. To list the pros of this build, I would start with its survivability. Even though you deal damage to yourself, this build has so much armor that you won't feel a thing. Now because of that you might think that this build had to sacrifice speed or boss damage, but no, it is still super fast and can kill guardians in just a few seconds. Now to list the cons, the first thing that comes to my mind is that you need to keep an eye on your accuracy. This is because we use the Keystone Precise technique that grants 40% more damage if your accuracy is bigger than your life. As for budget, this build is cheap. You can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 60 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 120 chaos, and for easily completing our Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. Don't forget that on PoEbuilds.net you can find a list with all the equipments that you need to buy for this build, with direct links for examples being sold by other players. For clear speed I'll give it 9 out of 10. Bonshera also creates a big pulse of damage when stunning enemies. That means that a single blow can kill an entire pack of monsters. Other than that, you stack a lot of attack speed that causes your Leap Slam to almost teleport you through the map. The boss damage is also great and deserves 9 out of 10. Using Berserk on bosses causes you to accumulate a lot of trauma stacks and deal huge amounts of damage. For the survivability, this build is surely a 10 out of 10, and I would even like to say 20 out of 10 if I could. This build achieves almost 200,000 armor and over 83% of all elemental resistances. All of that combined with the Juggernaut Ascendancy grants this character almost 500,000 effective HP. Yes, it's crazy. Next we have one for the minion lovers out there, the Poison Raging Spirit's Guardian with the Templar class. This build takes advantage of the high number of Raging Spirits you can summon to stack an absurd amount of poison on our enemies. To list the pros of this build, I would start with its boss damage. Once the build is complete, you are going to kill even the biggest bosses in just a few seconds. The survivability is also amazing, since we can have all the defensive layers of a Guardian on a minion build that is already very safe to play. Now to list the cons, I would start saying that this build isn't for everyone. You need a lot of currency to put it together. Another issue is that Raging Spirits have a short duration and you have to often stop to resummon them. As for budget, this build will need at least 10 Divine Orbs to put together. As I said, it's an expensive one. You need 4 mandatory unique items for this build. The first one is the Uniting Drain Sword that grants an Envy Aura for a big amount of chaos damage to our minions. It also grants them 60% chance to poison on hit. We also need the Darkness in Front Belt that has 2 Abyss Jewel sockets for us to achieve a 100% chance to poison our minions. Next we need a Covenant Armor that grants our Raging Spirits a level 29 added chaos damage support. This means a lot more chaos damage. Finally, we also need the Ancient Skull Helmet that grants a huge damage and attack speed boost to our minions. For clear speed, I'll give it 9 out of 10. Even though we have many fast minions that destroy everything in seconds, they have a short duration and need to be resummoned often. That's the reason why I took 1 point out. The boss damage deserves 10 out of 10. You easily end up with over 30 million DPS. That's more than enough to decimate every boss in the game. For the survivability, I'll give it 10 out of 10. As a minion build you already stay far from danger, but with this one you also count with the many defensive layers from the Guardian Ascendancy. This grants over 100,000 effective HP. Finally we have a smoking hot build that won't go down easily. I'm talking about the Righteous Fire Juggernaut with the Marauder class. Here you can use all the tankness and life regeneration from the Juggernaut to easily sustain the Righteous Fire damage and just walk your way through the endgame. To list the pros of this build, I'll have to start with how comfortable and smooth this gameplay is. As soon as you get this build sustaining Righteous Fire, you start clearing maps without even noticing. This character is also super tanky and it will be hard to die even if you try to. Now to list the cons, I'll start saying that the boss damage isn't great, but don't worry, you kill map bosses easily even on a low budget, but Guardians and Pinnacle bosses will take longer than usual if you don't invest a few Divine Orbs. Another issue is that the leveling is a little bit complicated since we use a spell as a Marauder, but if you follow closely the steps on the leveling section from the complete guides, you won't have a problem. As for budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 105 KS, but if you follow the crafting tips on the complete guide, this can get a lot cheaper. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 150 KS, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 Divines, mostly on your survivability. You need 2 mandatory unique items for this build. The first are the Legacy of Fury boots. They scorch nearby enemies and cause them to explode for an amazing clear speed. Those boots might be a little bit expensive during the first days of a new league, but don't worry, you'll be fine playing without them until the price drops. The other mandatory unique is the Immortal Flash belt. This one grants a huge amount of life regeneration and even a great armor buff. For clear speed, I'll give this build 10 out of 10. As mentioned before, as soon as this build is complete, you just walk and watch every enemy burn only because of your presence. This means not stopping for casting and saving a lot of time while farming. The boss damage on the other hand is not that great. I would give it just 7 out of 10 because it will need investment to do a decent DPS on Pinnacle bosses and Guardians. But don't worry, this build still kills map bosses easily on a low budget. For the survivability, this build surely has 10 out of 10. As you can see on the POB, this build gets over 100,000 armor, 2,000 life regeneration per second, over 87% of all elemental resistance, and even over 50% chance to block spell damage. Look at the effective HP, it goes beyond 200,000. Even if you try to die, it wouldn't be easy. And that's it guys, what did you think about those tank builds? Please don't forget to tell me in the comments and leave a thumbs up to support the channel. I wish you guys an amazing day, and don't forget to keep building!